Hello.
Hey Alexis, how are you?
All right, thanks.
Cool.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. I was running around just before this, so I attempted to put myself in like a meditation and reconnect. I don't
Hmm.
know if it worked, but it's okay.
Hmm. Yeah. And how are we pronouncing your name? Is it Crosh?
Yeah, that's the internet name. My name's Patrick or Pat.
Ah, okay, cool.
What about you? Alexis is good?
Alexis is cool, yeah. Yeah.
By the way, after my experience, I tried to change my name to Way because like Ram Dass said, he doesn't want something that's always a reminder of the identity you've had your whole lifetime.
Hmm.
But the catch 22, because you change your name and it's just more, of the same. It's more intention, it's more playing a character. And
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's irrelevant.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So just for the sake of a recording that may or may not go out, um, you seen a video that popped up on TikTok by the sounds of it, a video that was Alexis speaking and about flowers and children and trees. And
Mm-hmm.
it seems as though you felt inclined to talk about that and discuss. Um, and what the video was suggesting is that this may not have been your interpretation necessarily, but what the video may be not as clear as other meetings and videos have been. But what it's pointing out and suggesting is that there is no real distance between subject and object. So when it's said in the video, flowers don't need me to bloom, although it's not that clear, what is meant is that flowers, whatever's appearing, whether it's flowers, nature of any kind, bodies, animals, whatever, it doesn't actually require a separate individual. And the separate individual is usually called me, is usually called myself or the separate self, the individual, the entity that feels itself to be real and solid and separate in the body, in a human body. And what this, where this is apparently coming from and communicating is that separate self that apparently used to be feeling real is actually not anymore. It's there's no separate subject or object. There's just immediacy. So that's what the video was suggesting. And then there was this response from
Mm-hmm.
Patrick. And this is just, an opportunity to have a look at that basically. And whatever happens, whether there's agreement or disagreement, resonance or resistance, as far as this is concerned, it doesn't matter. It's totally fine. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
no desired outcome, no intention.
I feel the same way. Um, I'm shaking off my desired outcome and my intention. But I love this. So often I go into talks or like Discord things where people ask questions, and um, I have been just right in it, feeling it. And confidence isn't the word. You need confidence when you're a character and you want to believe in that character's validity in this conversation.
Mm.
But when you know that you are all characters and none, you can sort of bypass confidence and it comes across to others as incredibly confident and self-assured and whatever else. And so I'm noticing that um, like I wet my hair 30 seconds, no, 30 minutes before I came on and wanting to make sure that the curls curled up in the right way and, running around and and it just gets me in this state where I'm identifying with this character. And then right before I have to come on, I'm like, no, I'm not this character. I'm not this character. Let me get my mindset away from worrying about how I look or if I make this argument. And I just think it's amazing that it didn't quite wear off, even into the middle of our conversation here. And maybe it will over the course, who knows?
Hmm.
But either way, it's okay. You're right.
Hmm. Hmm.
Can I make a comment on what you just clarified?
Yeah, if you like.
So, yeah, I suppose I felt inclined to reply. um, so, you said that the flower, there's no separation. The flower doesn't need an observer to be a flower. And
Not
I,
objectively, not objectively.
right,
So if it's if there's if there's a perceiver, if there's an apparent me, then the flower will always seem to be objectively a flower. Yeah.
right. And I guess that's my point because you identified it as a flower. The flower doesn't need me. And so, from your relative perspective, defining a flower, the way that you see it can only exist from your observer's stance. Now,
Hmm.
from within me, the dreaming, it's just my analogy, but we're in this vast dream, and the dreamer consciousness creates the cocktail of sensations. I'm not saying like intentionally creates, but however, a flower exists. Okay. Now, as the flower, it would define itself completely differently. It wouldn't see its colors or its smells. The feeling of the dreamer being a flower or just being the space where the flower exists, I wouldn't say I'm nitpicking. You're right. The flower is as conscious as anything else, and
Hmm.
you may need an observer like you to.
Well, this isn't an observer though, yeah? This isn't an observer and it doesn't have a relative perspective. It apparently used to. There's no
Mhm.
separate self anymore. There never actually was.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, just like in a dream, a character within the dream wouldn't be separate. It wouldn't be a separate self. It would be a part of the same mind. It wouldn't. And I think, the whole thing is conscious. It's consciousness. It doesn't need to be self-conscious, but the very base of the experience, this smallest thing that could be, maybe a single sensation, like I don't know what that would be, but there's always a sensation isn't a sensation without a sensor. And
Only objectively though.
okay, what do you mean?
So a sensation
Mhm.
is simply sensation. And a
Yeah.
sensation would seem to be an objective sensation when there's a subject at a distance from it.
Mhm.
But there's no real distance and there's no real need for there to be a distance either. Because when we're talking about subjects and objects, there's this sense of duality, the sense of separation. But as though that could apparently collapse, there's just simply immediate raw aliveness. And there's nothing outside of it or inside of it. All dimensions and separation, sense and so sensation isn't even sensation, you could say, because it's not objectifiable or subjectifiable. It's just raw, it's just whatever it is, it's just raw, alive immediacy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I I know I feel like I know what you're saying. And I feel like um I felt that before. And but I think when you start with I'm again arguing the words in the video. When you start with a flower doesn't need me to exist. I think, well, I guess I'm arguing your perspective now, but what about the perspective I initially came with, that in a general sense, if this existence includes everything, every possible sensation and every possible arrangement, not happening, but happened, and happened encompasses everything before and after all at once, and is then experienced as if it's happening. But if we take the smallest, whatever you want to call it, it can't be anything unless everything is there too. What do you think about that argument? Did you know what I was saying?
Well, there's no real time. There's no real time. Again,
Right.
immediacy being all there is includes memories. So memories can appear, ideas, thoughts, perception, sensation, not objectively. So again, using words as best one can, and that's just coming out of nothing. It's all just seemingly empty and full, paradoxically. It's simply immediate.
Right.
So memory immediate, thought immediate, idea immediate, word immediate, hearing, speaking. It's all just seemingly flowing out of absence. Yeah.
Yes, seemingly flowing from an objective view.
But not
I
necessarily, not necessarily. It doesn't require a subject and an object. That's the dream.
saying the flowing aspect, to perceive anything in sequence. In order for something to progress or appear or happen, there needs to be something that's registering that we were here, now here, now here, or something's
Yeah.
here, now here.
Yes.
So
And that's that, but progression depends on time to be real. And it
so
is.
I sorry. Um I've sorry, one second. I've tried to describe to a couple people how I perceive how time is an illusion, how all moments can exist at once, yet we perceive as if we're moving through it. And the way that I have explained it is, if you think about a movie that's broken up into frames, right? Where someone's walking and you have a frame where he takes a step, a frame where he leans, a frame where he steps down, right? And you ask a mind to experience, or a computer to experience all of those frames simultaneously. And then you say baked within each frame is the awareness of that moment too. So one believes it's heading to two. Two perceives that it just came from one and is going to three. And three perceives that it came from both of them, right? And all three frames are always being experienced by this computer. Three always believes that, two always believes it. But baked within the consciousness of each of those frames doesn't include the other frames. So the experience of being frame two, thinking you came from one or going to three, can't include an awareness of being three. So in order for the computer to experience it simultaneously, it always feels as if it's progressing through it. We didn't just arrive in this frame. We've always been experiencing this frame. This is the moment that we have always experienced this frame. However, from the computer's vantage point, while it was experiencing two, the portion of it that's experiencing two can't perceive three. And I guess it's always in all frames, so it's always perceiving that it's moving through them. It's hard because I'm trying to essentially say that the flow of time is the computer being one, having to register that experience before realizing the two frame. But that sentence in itself denotes motion, denotes that it's happening and hasn't already happened. So it's so difficult to explain. What do
Yeah.
you think of?
Well, as though there was a real past. This studied, awareness, consciousness, time, philosophy, tantra, yoga, Buddhism, meditation, all the rest of it for a long time. And it seems to have perhaps residue of conceptual understandings about the way time seems to be perceived by a mind, and how it would seem to be like a computer managing data and registering this and that. But all of this has totally collapsed. All of it's totally collapsed. Yeah. What you're suggesting is that time would seem to look like a linear path with events to me, to the subject, because this is how the subject, which is nothing wrong with that, by the way, that is how it seems to be. When there's this sense of an observer, a perceiver, the knower, the subject, separate self, it seems to perceive time like this, as a linear path with events, past, present, future, and that the subject is moving along that, like that's a linear path heading in a direction and coming from a past, yeah. And that is the sense of time being a reality, and that has, and well, it's apparently collapsed, and it never was really happening that way. It just seemed to be. It seemed to be perceived that way as an object that the I, the subject, was referring to or relating to. And this is not how it really is. It's actually just appearances of memory. Again, not objectively, but there's just total immediate appearances. It's all whole and one. Not even one, really, but you could provisionally call it oneness, just totally immediate. There's no real stepping outside or inside of that. It's just totally boundless. Yeah.
I'm imagining an infinite still object that encompasses, if you're envisioning it as an object, you would think it could move, but it includes everything. So it includes every position it could be in, every possible character, every possible thought. It includes all of it. It's experiencing it all at once. And within infinity is differences between two experiences that seem to, like, that I'm progressing through. The difference between your, and I just mean the appearance of two beings, the difference between your experience there and my experience here, right, is no different between my experience here and my experience in 6 minutes. Those two experiences are happening at the same time by the same thing. And it all exists at once, simultaneously, forever. It's the same moment.
It's all there is, yeah.
Right. We're perceiving one moment of all possible perception. And we're perceiving it as if we're flowing through it, because that sense of having come from something and going to something is baked in to this experience. And so it seems like I just came from there and I'm going to there. Oh, I just came from there.
Yeah.
But it's all at once.
In the dream, yes. But there's no experience for this. There's no experience. There's just that speaks, and then this speaks, and it's all totally directly, immediately what is, yeah, which is fine.
Right. Right. I guess I differentiate based on the appearance, It's hard to discuss this without saying me or
That's
him,
okay.
or
This still uses the word me or I. Yeah, that's fine. But it's just not coming from a place where there is actually a felt sense of I, like a felt position. It used to be, again, apparently used to be, because time has collapsed. But there used to be a sense of a position that would be felt as I. Now the body just goes on using the words I and me, but there's no actual felt sense behind that. It's speaking itself.
I experienced this moment of not being able to get off the path where I could perceive the the path. It's all it's all happening. Everything that I'm doing right now has always existed in that way. And every attempt I make to veer from it is going in it. And I've had that experience where I, I was sort of maddened by it. It's as if you held up a mirror and you could see 1 second ahead, and every single thing you see sort of directs you to do it, and it makes you crazy because you just have to put it down. And so I'm wondering, I guess, if you no longer have a felt sense of an observer, how do you perceive the things that you do, making a website, doing
Yeah, yeah,
live stream?
yeah.
Is it just
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just goes on by itself. The body flows. It already is actually. It just seems like there's someone in there calling the shots, running the like running the motions. But even these words just effortlessly spill out of nothing. Pain and anger can, still appear. So it's not like everything is bliss and wonder, in a lovely way. But yeah, website making, meetings, going to a coffee shop, and going to a workplace, it all goes on, yeah, just without a sense that it's objective or subjective. Yeah. Yeah. There's just no sense of a position anymore, a localized position where there's a real I that's doing this and that. Yeah.
so you you can perceive the want of the so-called character? Because I mean, in order to go to a coffee shop or something, there has to be a desire. And so are you perceiving it as if the character would have the character does this and this is a part of that, so I'm
Yeah.
allowing.
Yeah, it's just preferences, It's just
Yeah.
preferences. Like the body seems to have conditions, like seems to be conditioned to like certain foods and hang out with certain people. It all goes on in free flow. Yeah, it's fine. So it
So
goes to a cafe and whatever.
why are you still here?
Well, this is just doing what it's doing.
Yeah, but there are infinite other expressions of experience, and we tend to be perceive as though we are present in the one that matches our mindset right now. And so if your mindset isn't identified with the being, why hasn't that being died? And I mean, what part of you wants to still be you?
Well, but there's just no you left. The body, does what it does with or without a sense of a subject. So it goes and it apparently has a nervous system that is designed according to natural selection and whatnot to survive, and the fight and flight system turns on when danger comes, and the rest and digest system happens when there's a relaxing and a pleasant situation seeming to happen. But all of that just goes on in free flow. There's no craving to go one way or another, but the body is just running on its own apparent functioning and preferences, conditioning, characteristics, mannerisms. It all plays out. It all plays out, but it's just no longer there's a sense of a personal situation going on. Yeah.
So can I ask you to speculate? We experience or we perceive as though we are going through time, and I feel like in a similar way we perceive that we're going through lifetime. So um, the characteristics of Alexis um, denotes your progress on that infinite path. It's all here, but you might perceive as though you're flowing through it. So is your experience right now, I mean, for instance, like let's say there's a character like Jesus, okay?
Mhm.
Do you think all the things that Jesus said and did, or Buddha, that would be in your apparent past or your apparent future? I mean, at what point is Buddha just allowing himself to prioritize teaching is Christ, allowing himself as you to walk through the motions of collecting followers, and how do their perceptions of this experience differ from yours right now?
Well, it couldn't be known because this body never met them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, there's no sense that there was a 2000 years ago with a Jesus and a 2500 years ago with a Buddha and a 2004, 5 or 600 years ago with a Lao Tzu, or a 2000 years from an apparent now. There's
Yeah.
just the word Buddha and maybe a thought about Buddha, and that's all happening as what is. Yeah. So
And so,
there's no sort of belief or disbelief that what these bodies were apparently saying was this or not this.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's no
And
inclination to speculate about whether they were saying this or not. Yeah.
I suppose you would need to have some identification with the character in order to speculate about where it stands on the ladder, you know? Yeah, it's so interesting because I was totally freed in my awakening, and I was everything. And it seemed can't possibly explain it now, but I try. And I have many, many moments where I just allow, but I experience a lot of attachments. I've freed myself of a lot of attachments. Not that that's necessary, not that like I need to. I've also, you know, flipped tables and thrown confetti in the air and, raged because it doesn't matter. And so, yeah, I wonder sometimes about when I will decide to stop doing something, or if that's necessary, if that's in my future. It's strange that I'm
Okay. Well, what you've said there, this is where the disagreement might happen, and if that happens, that's what happens. Doesn't matter.
yeah,
But what you said there is implying that there's real free will and choice, and there isn't.
yeah, no,
So that someone could decide to let go or decide to carry on, to decide to go this way or that way.
right. Yeah, the appearing as if I'm deciding to do something based on the it's law unfolding, how I'm feeling, all of the qualities of this angst in this moment is a part of a path, and I am perceiving as though I'm choosing, and yes, all already happened, I know that. But so, like, for instance, an attachment like vaping, um i've I've felt like I just allow it to happen because it's me as much as anything else is me. And so it doesn't really matter if I do it or not. And I'm not making the choice anyway. So if I vape for the rest of my life and die of cancer, that's always what was going to happen. But at the same time, this urge that I seem to have where I am uncomfortable and could feel better by doing something is an attachment that contradicts what I said before about allowing vaping to occur. If I have the presence of mind to allow vaping to occur because it doesn't matter, then I should also have the presence of mind to allow myself to sit in discomfort without needing a vape. And defining it as discomfort, right? I know that when I feel that way, I can sit and change the discomfort into bliss simply by not needing to change it, by accepting it completely. This this is all I've ever wanted. This is the only place I want to be. I want nothing more. I never want this to end. I don't want this meditation to work. This is perfect for me. I want to feel this discomfort. And it becomes blissful. I could do that every single time. Yet I ignore that and I go vape. And so I wonder at what point will I get to that natural progression where I can just allow things, be it allowing the discomfort or allowing myself to vape, or, what do you think?
Well, there's no one choosing to vape or not to vape. To vape or not to vape. That's the question. Yeah. No, it happens by itself already. So whether vaping happens and that's simply the conditioning and the preference of the body, or whether vaping, stops happening, that decision happens on behalf of no one. Yeah. The
You have
decision happens already. Yeah. Say again?
do you have things like that you see me doing for comfort when you know that you don't really need comfort anymore?
Well, there's no need or not need, all the time there used to be this sense of energy, this seeming contracted, localized, me orientated, subjective energy. It seemed like I should be behaving in a certain way. I should be speaking this way. I should be thinking these thoughts and feeling these feelings and practicing this and doing that, trying to be skillful and ethical, you know. And from time to time, that would all fall apart, and there would be a relapse into some kind of, well, what was deemed unskillful behaviors, whether it was like getting a massive takeaway or like watching movies that contained certain content, and it was all like already totally out of control, and it's all just totally collapsed, like it's totally collapsed. And now like preferences go on without any sense of like that should or shouldn't be happening. Like it's just happening by itself. There's no filter and there's no navigating. It's just playing out effortlessly in free flow already. So when salad gets eaten, but then a pizza might get eaten, and it's all fine. There's just no shame or guilt or remorse in that because that's simply preferences, and the body takes care of itself. So it all just goes on as it goes on, and maybe getting hit by a car or developing illness or something happens, and then maybe there's a response to that, like to take some sort of medical treatment or aid. And all of it seemingly plays out in free flow. Yeah.
That's amazing. Do
Yeah.
you think do you think there's a character out there um, who screams and yells and um, demands and insults and is seemingly incredibly selfish, narcissistic, abusive, that has a rider like you that's just allowing it to happen? Could
Mm.
could we allow in such a way that we stomp around seeming to be the least evolved or enlightened or loving person? Can
Mm.
Do you think that's going on?
Well, there's no personal allowing. Allowing is just all there is. So an unconditional allowance, you could say. So everything that's already happening is already allowed because it's what's appearing to happen. If it wasn't allowed, it wouldn't be. But it's whatever's happening is what's happening. And it's allowed in that sense, radically and unconditionally. And what can seem to happen in this unconditional freedom, unconditional love, whatever you want to call it, can appear the neurosis of separation energy. And out of that separation energy grows the seeking and the wanting this and the craving for that and the resistance to what is. And this can seem to breed all sorts of it can seem to breed behaviors and actions, such as total violence and abuse, and self-destruction, that kind of stuff. But, violence does happen in nature. So, all like animals and parasites, there's not necessarily is there a need for there to be this separation energy when it comes to violence. But what collapses is the separation energy that feels at a distance from what's happening, and then out of that a seeking to make that right, to make that better. And that obviously addiction of any kind is this energy. So the energy of addiction is coming out of the seeking energy. But the body, has the tendency to do things that would not be deemed acceptable in a society that's seemingly full of me's, like
Do you
hunting
ever,
and stuff like that.
it seems to me it would be difficult to advise anyone.
Yeah, there's
Um,
advising.
right.
Yeah, this can't be applied. It can't be applied. It's utterly useless. What's being shared is so utterly useless. Because if there was a sense that someone was trying to apply it, then this would seemingly lead to nihilism and pessimistic views and just misinterpreting it completely as something that someone could know about or use. And
Yeah.
this is misinterpret. Yeah.
I mean, I struggle with that because I seemingly the answer to all the things that troubled me is are opening through this experience. I couldn't have gotten to the kind of acceptance. And I know it's me thinking I'm a character getting to that progress and it's all just happening. And I have moments where I'm just in it, just allowing, like you said. Um, but people ask me to speak, they ask me questions. There's a woman who calls me every single day for 2 years, and she just wants to rant through uh, a long story about some person she encountered and some way she felt and way she reacted. And um, there's, I tell myself that I'm in it for 2 years because if there's some part of me that is uncomfortable with being interrupted or having someone talk over me for 2 hours, then that's a part that I can address, because a blissful me could sit there on a 2 hour phone call or could decide not to answer the call and be totally at peace with that. And so this is my practice, allowing her to call. And maybe sometime in there, I can find a way to say something where she won't react defensively. But I am learning with as many of these as I do that I can't teach the thing that I want to express. And
No.
me wanting to is me running from oneness to individualism. It's avoiding the collapse.
Yeah.
I love you, by the way. I really appreciate you talking to me.
Oh, yeah. I enjoyed listening to you. There was such a sweetness there, despite whatever's happening, like despite conflicting views or whatever's happening, there's a real sweetness, and I think that's lovely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a deleting comments that I leave like within 20 minutes because I only feel that way in that moment, and I'm never loyal to any viewpoint because I can instantly see the opposite perspective, and I can see all the ways I'm wrong in what I said. So then I make a video and I can't just delete it, or I often do actually, but I guess I was in a mood last night and I decided to make a video. So thank you for being a good sport.
Hmm. Oh. Hmm. Hmm. Well, if you ever want to come to a meeting, you're always welcome.
Thank you. I think I would.
Yeah, you could, when the Zooms or the YouTube stream, it's like people don't have to participate. They can just sit back and listen or whatever. It's fine. Yeah.
I think that would do me some good to just listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something.
Whatever happens is the beloved as far as this is concerned. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I really appreciate that.
Hmm. Well, it's been lovely, Patrick. Shall we call it there?
Yeah, I think this feels like a good place.
Yeah, sweet. I'm coming to New York, by the way.
Oh, really? When?
Yeah, because you're in New Jersey, aren't you? I'm actually staying in New Jersey, and I'm going to do some meetings in New York. So again, that's in the first weekend in August. Yeah,
I'll write that down. If you have any inclination to meet up at that time, I would definitely.
that's a possibility. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What in August? The
Yes, so
sorry, you
first weekend. So the meetings are the first weekend, second, third, and fourth. But I'll probably be in New Jersey, New York area, a couple of days either side of that. Yeah.
okay? Amazing. I live really close to New York. I used to commute there and work at Chelsea Market in New York City and Chelsea Piers. So yeah, that would be cool.
Hmm. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Would you like this to go up?
I think I'm going to leave it up to you. I I'm going to try not to prefer one way or another. I feel the suspicion that parts of me wouldn't like, and then parts of me would love. So honestly, I'm happy if it goes up. I'm happy if it doesn't. I want to leave it to you.
Lovely. Yeah.
Thank I
Well,
hope to speak
say again?
I hope to speak to you again sometime.
Yeah. Yeah, that can happen. Yeah. 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 Well,
All
so
right.
much love to you, Patrick.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye for now.
Later.